is the commemoration of the disappearance day of Gorkashore Das Babaji Maharaj. So Gorkashore Das Babaji Maharaj is the spiritual master of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was the spiritual master of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So, we're going to chant the prayers to the departed Vaishnavas before class. Jai Adilo Premadana Korana Prachu Hey Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Kahamurasarupa Kasanatsa Kakadasa Raghunatha Pachita Pahuma Kahamora Bata Juga Kagavera Ekakale Kotagela Koranataras Ashane Kutiro Mata Anale Pashibo Koranga Gunera Nide Kota Gele Pabo Say Sabat Sangira Sange Ye Koila Velas Say Sangana Payakande Narotamodas Jayani Go Premadana Karuna Prachur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur 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 Vaishnav Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paramacharya also Jada Satashi Shimad Its divine grace. Shiva Siddhigo Makta Vrindikijai Shishi Govardhan Kijai Vrinda Kijai Machuradam Kijai Jagadada Sami Kijai Munhai Kijai Shimani Lasidevi Kijai Samaveda Bhakta Vrindikijai Gaur Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. All glorious the assembled devotees. All glorious the assembled devotees. All glorious the Shri Guru and Gauranga Shripad Kijai. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna. Kristaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Samani Dinamani Namaste. Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Shunyabadi. Paschacha Tejatarni. So read the translation. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivasa Acharya gone? Where am I Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where am I Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishna's Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga and accompanied by all of these devotees, in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottama Das simply weeps. So today we are commemorating the disappearance day of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And we described before, he is the spiritual master of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is the spiritual master of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So, Om Ganat Timiranda Shah, Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Unmiritam, Yena Tasmai, Shri Gurave Namaha. So first we're going to talk about his disappearance, because today is his disappearance day. And then we'll get on with some of his other pastimes and his appearance in this world. So actually he disappeared on this day, which was in 1915, November 16th, because we have the moon calendar, the Vaishnava calendar, which has different days than the solar calendar. So at this particular point, he, as they say, Om Pravishta, he entered into the eternal pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so, of course, he left in Navadvip, and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur went to Kulia, where Srila Gaurkashodas Babaji Maharaj was, and all the different priests of the different temples in Navadvip were actually surrounding or close to the body, and they were arguing as to who would have the body in their particular ashram. And the reason they were doing that was because if they had the body of this great personality in their ashram, then more people would visit. And more people visiting meant more donations, because they were dependent upon the visitors for donations. And Prabhupada commented about that sometimes, about how in Gaur Purnima, all the different moths were dependent upon, like, widows and older people to maintain them, and during other times of the year there weren't so many people there. So anyway, so there was a heated argument, and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who happened to be the only disciple of Srila Gaurkashodas Babaji Maharaj, said that I should have the samadhi, and the rest of your attempts are illegitimate. They are not proper, and I'm the only disciple of His Divine Grace, Srila Gaurkashodas Babaji Maharaj. So then the police arrived, and the policeman's name was Jatindranath Singha. Singha means like lion. So that's it, Kshatriya name. So the other personalities had this argument that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati is not a sannyasi, because he hadn't taken sannyas at that time, and has no right to prepare a samadhi for someone who has renounced this world. And that's true. Actually, the only persons who could prepare a sannyasi for a samadhi for a sannyasi are those who are already renounced themselves. That's because there's certain procedures, such as mantras, like sannyas mantras, that have to be put on the chest of the person as they're put into samadhi, as we saw in the case of Srila Prabhupada. Anyway, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur declared, I'm a celibate, I'm a brahmachari, I'm not a hypocrite like the rest of you. Like a hypocrite renunciate, who is secretly addicted to abominable habits like fornication. That's heavy language. So, he said, if there is someone here who is actually a renunciate of pure, stainless character, he can come forward, and I'll let him have the samadhi. And in fact, I issue this challenge. If anyone has not had illicit connection for 1 year, and then he reduced this a little bit, 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, or even 3 days, if he hasn't indulged in illicit life, then he can touch the body. Otherwise, I say this to you now, that person will be ruined. That's like putting a curse. You know, if you do this, everyone was thinking, oh my God, I do not want to die and be ruined. So the inspector of the police asked, can we trust them? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, don't worry, we can trust them. Because they're, anxiety, someone puts a curse. And generally people in India, they're very superstitious. Someone puts a curse on something, they're just like, oh my God. So, anyway, at that point, all these other Babajis described turned their backs and walked away, admitting, actually, they were not following so strictly. So then, some of the people who remained there communicated Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji's Maharaj's last wishes. He said, these are his last wishes. His last wishes are that his body would be dragged through the streets of Navadvip. Oh my God. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur understood that this was the humility of his spiritual master, and there's a direct quote here. Although we are fools, inexperienced, and offenders, we will still not be disinclined to understand the true meaning of these humility-filled words, which have been spoken by my Gurudev to destroy the pride of worldly-minded people. Even Krishna Chandra will personally think himself successful if he carries my Gurudev on his head or shoulders. And then he describes that after the departure of Haridas Thakur, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu carried Haridas Thakur's body and was dancing with Haridas Thakur's body and bathed Haridas Thakur's body in the... What's that? Someone triggered it. So, and bathed Haridas Thakur's body. You got to be careful what you touch. Oh. And bathed Haridas Thakur's body in the sea. So anyway, so on the following day, which is November 17th, 1915, according to the scriptural injunction, which is actually the Ekadashi, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had a pit dug out in the ground. That's how the samadhi is. In the samadhi of great devotees, of sannyasis at least, they put the body in a pit and they surround the body with salt. And of course they put the mantras on and then completely fill the pit up. So anyway, so they put it in a particular place, but on land that had been donated by a very rich man. And the rich man later on utilized that particular area for illicit activities. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was very upset with this. So 16 years later, the Ganges started to intrude upon this particular area. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur organized a whole group of people to take the samadhi intact and transport it to where it is now, which is in Brajapatana, which is actually in the Chaitanya Math, which is down the road in the Bhaktisiddhanta Road Marg, from our Sri Mayapur Chandradoya Mandir, and it's right on the banks of the replica of Radha Kund. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had two ponds that were in this area, and he commemorated them and sanctified them as Radha Kund and Shaima Kund, and also made a Govardhan hill. And it's described in the Chaitanya Math that, of course, you can go around this Govardhan hill in approximately half a minute or less. That if you go around this hill, it's the same thing as going around Govardhan Hill in Braj. And we understand this is because Shri Navadvip Dham Mayapur is more merciful than Braj. So in other words, one can even do a Dandavat Parikrama, probably take you about 5 minutes to do that around the hill. So anyway, so this is the story, that's the story of his disappearance. Now we'll talk about his appearance and some of his famous pastimes of being really Unplugging is not going to do it. It's not battery operated. You got to press the button on it to turn it off. No, it started to go out. It's a robot. AI. So, I mean, he was famous for being so strict with people. So strict. I mean, I'm going to just have one story before we talk about his appearance, is that, you know, one time there was a married couple who came to him, and this couple wanted their blessings. They had just got married. And they said, what should we do? But not only blessings, but instructions. They said, you should live separately. And, all right, so living separately. And then a few weeks later, the man or the couple came back, and he asked the man, what have you eaten? And the man said, very nice eggplant sabji, and, you know, other things like that. And who has cooked for you? My wife. Even though we're not living together, we're following your instructions. And he said, she is communicating with you through your food. Oh, my God. Why was he so strict like that? Because they were trying to utilize his instructions to justify their sense gratification. So, in other times, he advised the husband just to serve the wife. So he was just like really averse to people utilizing Krishna consciousness for sense gratification. That was a very important principle. I thought, you know, another example is that he had gotten someone to give him his latrine so he could chant Hare Krishna in the latrine and not be bothered. And then someone tried to copy him, and that person was in, I guess, in the room next to him or whatever, trying to copy him, and he just yelled at this person, why are you just sitting here thinking of sex life, you know? And so eventually the person left, and he left the renounced order of life. So anyway, very, very strict with those who were putting on a show of spiritual life. So anyway, so let's talk about his appearance. So the exact date of his appearance is not known, but more or less in the 1830s. And he appeared in East Bengal, which is now known as Bangladesh. And he appeared on the banks of the Padma River. For those of you who know the pastimes of Narottama Das Thakur, you'll recognize that river. And that's the river that Narottama Das Thakur bathed in, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would put his love, pure love in, and Narottama Das Thakur became enlivened with that pure love. So his name is sometimes considered Vamsidas, as some of his biographers say. His father's name was Vamsidas, but that's not really that important. He was married, and for 20 years, he lived as a grain seller, broker or something like that. And after that particular period of time, his wife passed away. There were no children. And when he took that as Krishna's indication that it was time for him to renounce this world. So he approached a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead named Bhagavat Das Babaji, and that person was living in Vrindavan, and he accepted from him the Babaji order of sannyas. Babaji order is where one wears like a white, like a gamcha or lungi or whatever you may call it, and maybe have a wrap on top and has a water pot. And really it's not really an order in which one generally preaches. One just concentrates, one's called a bhajananandi, two types of devotees, Ghostananandi and Bhajananandi. Ghostananandi are those who preach Krishna consciousness, Bhajananandi are those who are simply absorbed in chanting the holy names, usually at least 64 rounds a day, if not more. Of course, Haridas Thakur was chanting like 192 rounds a day. So he traveled around Vrindavan for about 30 years. He lived in Braj. And he would go on pilgrimage to some of the other nearby places. Eventually, he came to Bengal, in which he stayed in for the rest of his life after that particular point. And he went to Kulia, which is where he passed away, if you remember, I talked about that, and associated with different Babajis. Some of their names are listed here. Chaitanya Das Babaji, and he was awarded the title of Bhajananandi, even though all Babajis are considered Bhajananandis. And around 1897, he went to the Yoga Pith, which is the birth site of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And from that time on, he lived in different villages and chanted the holy name and lived very, very simple. He would offer his foodstuffs by holding them in his hand, like that. Please accept this, Krishna. And as far as cooking or using pots, he would take the pots that were discarded by the side of the Ganges, and these pots were discarded because they were utilized during an eclipse. Generally, if something is utilized during an eclipse, that particular thing is considered impure and thrown away. And as far as dressing himself, he would take the discarded cloth that was used at the cremation ghats, and he would dress himself in that cloth. Amazing. So in this way, he actually remained completely independent. This is actually very, very important, because if one is dependent on others, then one loses their determination, individuality. So he remained completely independent. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur wanted to give him facility, and he did. In 1897, Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave him a place of bhajan on the banks of the Saraswati River in Godrum Dvipa. Godrum Dvipa is one of the 9 islands in Navadvip, and that Godrum Dvipa is specifically dedicated to the process of chanting. Each one of the 9 islands is associated with one of the processes of devotional service. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur also constructed his house there, and many of us have visited that house. And that location is actually the site of Lord Nityananda's Namahat. Namahat means the marketplace of the holy name. So where marketplace from which he distributed the holy name. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur would sometimes describe the glories of Gorkashore Das Babaji Maharaj, and here are some of his words. He described him as being indifferent, which means nirapeksha, means disinterested, not negative, not positive towards things of this world, but just like neutral, not even interested at all. So he would associate, Gorkashore Das Babaji Maharaj would associate a lot with Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he would come to hear Bhaktivinoda Thakur's recitation of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. His only possessions were his Tulsi beads for chanting and his Tulsi mala around his neck, or Kunti mala. He had a few books. He's considered to be illiterate, but illiterate means at that particular time that he didn't know Sanskrit, but he could read Bengali. And so he had the books, especially the books of Narottama Das Thakur, such as the Prarthana and Prema Bhakti Chandrika. And He exhibited, as we mentioned before, extreme indifference. Sometimes he didn't even wear clothes. And sometimes he would utter words that nobody could understand. But still, he understood all the conclusions of Krishna consciousness. Because, as Krishna says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam, yeni mam abhayanti te. Isn't it? Tesham sata yuktanam, vajatam pratipodam. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. So Krishna manifests or gave him intelligence. He never accepted any service from others. Here's some statements about his character by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Many young, clever, old, learned, foolish, proud, and reasonable persons came into contact with Srila Gaurkishore Prabhu, yet they could not realize his true identity. This is indeed the mystic opulence of the devotees of Lord Krishna. Many persons came to consult with Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji about their insignificant desires. They would always get suggestions, but those suggestions were usually the cause of their disappointment. Innumerable persons accepted the Babaji dress and acted as devotees of the Lord, but actually they were impostors far away from being real sadhus. Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji never accepted such a false way of life. His sincerity was apparent in itself. His loving attitude was such that even when he obtained a very opulent offering, his renunciation was predominant. These are quotes from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji never displayed any distaste for those persons who were inimical to him. He also never manifested any special affection for those very dear to him. He would often express himself saying, "In this material world, I am alone in my service to Lord Krishna. Everyone is worshipable by me." Another noteworthy transcendental topic is that many materialistic, foolish persons masquerading as devotees and imitating pure devotion would come and surround him. They would consider that they were the dear objects of his affection while they engaged their minds in so many worldly sense objects. Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj would never display any intention of driving them away, and also no symptoms of a compromising attitude. So, and then we're going to tell the story of the initiation of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Because Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj did not want to accept any disciples, and actually, he even considered Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur his Prabhu. This was his humility. In fact, there was one story I'll tell before I tell the story about the initiation, that once upon a time, Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj was losing his sight. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakur suggested that you should go to Calcutta, see a doctor. I'll arrange everything. And Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj said, "I will never go, basically, to the place of Kali." Oh my God. And, sometimes he told even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, "Don't go to Calcutta." But still, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went to Calcutta to preach. And it was explained by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur that wherever Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was Braj. In other words, like wherever Prabhupada was, our Prabhupada, is always Vrindavan. Prabhupada never left Vrindavan. So, anyway, so he was asked by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur to go to Calcutta. And he said, "I'll never go there. It's a place of Kali." And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that I will arrange for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to go with you. And he said, "I will never take service from Prabhu And at that point, he said, instead I would drown myself in the Jalangi. So he ran away, and everyone thought he was going to drown himself in the Jalangi River. And he disappeared for some period of time. Eventually, he came back, and he said, I understand I cannot attain Krishna by committing suicide. An amazing story. So, anyway, oh yes, I was going to talk about the initiation. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was known as Bimal Prasad at that particular point, you should take initiation from Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And so he went to Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj said, I have to ask Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And come back after I've asked him. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came back after some time, and he asked Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, did you ask Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj replied, I forgot. And then another time, and said, no, I didn't get permission. And finally, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, if I can't get your mercy, I'll end my life. And because of his determination, he became the only initiated disciple of Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Okay. Very wonderful story. So here there's another story, which is entitled, this is a beautiful book about Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, which is called Deception and Actual Residence in the Holy Dham. One time, I'm just going to paraphrase this, there was a young devotee who wanted to perform devotional service in the Holy Dham. And he was a physician. So he was thinking, I'll remain in the Holy Dham, buy medicines, by begging, and treat the sick and infirm. And in this way, I'll be performing welfare activity for everyone. So, and he thought, people give me donations. This way, I'll actually maintain myself. So he went to Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj quoted a verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is Adi Leela 10:50 to 51, in case you're interested. Murari Gupta never accepted charity from friends, nor did he accept money from anyone. He practiced as a physician and maintained his family with his earnings. As Murari treated his patients, by his mercy, both their bodily and spiritual diseases subsided. And Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj understood that this person was not sincere. He just wanted to remain in the Dham and maintain himself in that way. So he criticized them harshly. He said, you are suffering from the disease of material existence yourself. How will you properly treat others? And sometimes people think, there's another instance where someone actually purchased some land from one of the queens or kings or something like that. And he said, and this queen thinks that she owns the land, and you think you could purchase land in the Holy Dham, and it belongs to you? Not going to comment on what happens nowadays anyway. No comment. And then eventually with this doctor, he says, if you actually want the benefit of residing in the Dham, we should give up these ideas that you are entertaining. So it's very strict. Here's another story. This next story is called The New Babaji. A neophyte devotee had dressed up like a Babaji. Oh, this is the story about how we already said he owned. He purchased 3/4 of an acre of land. And this is the direct quote from Babaji Maharaj. The supreme abode of the Lord is transcendental. How is it possible that this queen has become a landowner in the Dham? How is it that she's entitled to sell this new Baba a portion of the land in the Holy Dham? All the jewels found within the universe are not valuable enough to purchase even one speck of dust in the Dham. Therefore, how can any landowner amass enough wealth to become the owner of a plot of transcendental abode of Sri Navadvip Dham? Very, very heavy. So let's find out here. So here's another story, which is called Deception and Devotional Service. Once upon a time, a very wealthy person was reputed to be a great devotee of the Lord, and he came to see Babaji Maharaj. And he appeared to be so deeply immersed in bhava that everyone had to help him walk, because otherwise he'd fall down. So they arrived before Gorkashordas Babaji Maharaj, and Gorkashordas Babaji Maharaj was blind. He couldn't see at all through his eyes. He had lost his vision. And so the friend of this particular rich person glowingly described the glories of this rich person. And he described how previously a thief had stolen 45,000 rupees. That's a lot. In those days, I mean, that was like a lifetime of making money. The landowner, understanding this to be insignificant, he had just renounced everything and come to take darshan of Gorkashordas Babaji Maharaj. And he even said that he was interested in the conversation between Ramananda Roy and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You should be able to explain this properly to us. And he said, before trying to understand the confidential topics between Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy, you should renounce the association of this rascal impostor. He says it to the friend of the rich man. Take shelter of a pure devotee of the Lord. And then Babaji Maharaj requested, everyone now just chant Hare Krishna, purify the atmosphere. So, of course, the couple left, and that was it for them. And Babaji Maharaj, as a direct quote said, after speaking with him for a few moments, I could understand that he had no good intentions for the performance of devotional service. One cannot measure a person's devotion by the approval of a general mass. If a person is not serious in his devotional practices, then even if he exhibits the symptoms of renunciation, non-attachment, and various ecstasies, still he should not be considered to have real renunciation or detachment. Very, very heavy story. So I think that's all we have time for right now. Yeah. Oh. Oh, the pictures like that, yeah. Shh. This book? It's written by Rupa Vilas. It's like, I forget the two and two Babaji. It's about Vamsidas Babaji and Gorkashordas Babaji Maharaj. I don't remember it. Two in Renunciation or something like that. It's a book written. It's the biography. Just look at Rupa Vilas. Rupa Vilas. He wrote the biographies of these two personalities, and it's especially Vamsidas Babaji is a very interesting story because he was definitely an avadhuta in many ways. Okay. I think we have to end. All glory is to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada. Amameshwaram Sachit Anandarupam Lasat Kunalam Gokule Brajamanham Yasodabaya Lukala Davamada Paramrishtamat Yantagato Drujagobya Rulantamo Hornetra Yumakrishantam Karambuja Jugvena Satankanetram Shakam Patre Rekan Kakanta Jitagrevam Damodaram Bhaktivadam Iti Drikswa Lila Bir Ananda Kunde Wakosham Nimajanta Makya Payantam Dade Sita Gesu Bhakta Titantvam Punak Prema Tastam Shatavati Vande Varam Deva Moksham Na Mokshavatim Vanga Nichanya Vrinayam Va Ishadabhiya Dinam Deva Purnata Gopala Bala Sadame Manasyam Virastam Kimanyai Hiranti Mukambojam Jantali Lage Ritam Kundalai Snigdha Raktaischa Gobya Motjambitam Bimba Ratanarambe Manasyavi Rastam Alam Lachalabai Namo Deva Namo Da Ananda Vishnu Prasida Prabhu Dukkha Jalabni Magnam Kripadrasti Vestati Dinam Badano Praneshama Magyam Yakshi Drishta Kuverat Bajo Bada Ujjaiva Jadvad Vayamuchitao Bhakti Bajo Krito Cha Tata Prema Bhaktim Swa Kame Priyaja Namokshe Rahome Sti Namodareha Namaste Su Domnes Pur Adipti Damne Twadi Udarayata Vishvacha Damne Namo Radhe Kaya Twa Jia Priyaya Namo Nantale Laya Devaya Tuvyam Namam Ishwaram Sachit Anandurupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yasoda Mayo Lukalata Vabandagum Maram Richtam Machanta Todruchikobya Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radha Jaya Radha Lokananda Radha Lokananda Radha Jaya Radha Lokananda Radha Lokananda Radha Jaya Radha Jaya Radha 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 Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Jaya Sri Radha Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya also Teva Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charana the Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prince Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Gopinath Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturanam Ki Jai Jagadadha Sami Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Srimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Sanvita Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namo Udale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachani Nivishesha Sunyavadi Paschatadesh Tarni. To the Supreme Controller, who possesses an eternal form of blissful knowledge, whose glistening noons swing to and fro, who manifested himself in Gokula, who stole the butter that the gopis kept hanging from the rafters of their storerooms, and who then quickly jumped up and ran in retreat in fear of Mother Yashoda, but was ultimately caught. To that Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, I offer my humble obeisances. Upon seeing his mother's whipping stick, he cried and rubbed his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes were fearful and his breathing quick, and his mother Yashoda bound his belly with ropes. He shivered in fright, and his pearl necklace shook. To the Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, who was bound by his devotees' love, I offer my humble obeisances. Those super excellent pastimes of Lord Krishna's babyhood drowned the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy. The devotees who were attracted only to his majestic aspect of Narayan and Vaikuntha, the Lord herein reveals, I am conquered and overwhelmed by pure loving devotion. To the Supreme Lord Damodar, my obeisances hundreds and hundreds of times. O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for liberation, nor eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon. My only prayer is that your childhood pastimes may constantly appear in my mind. O Lord, I do not even want to know your feature of Paramatma. I simply wish that your childhood pastimes may ever be enacted in my heart. O Lord, the cheeks of your blackish lotus face, which is encircled by locks of curling hair, have become reddened like bimbo fruit to Mother Yashoda's kisses. What more can I describe than this? Millions of opulences are of no use to me, but may this vision constantly remain in my mind. O unlimited Vishnu, O Master, O Lord, be pleased upon me. I am drowning in an ocean of sorrow, and am almost like a dead man. Please shower the rain of mercy upon me, uplift me and protect me with your nectarian vision. O Lord Damodar, in your form as a baby, Mother Yashoda bound you to a grinding stone with a rope for tying cows. You then freed the sons of Kuvera, Manigriva, and Nalakuvara, who were cursed to stand as trees, and you gave them the chance to become your devotees. Please bless me in the same way. I have no desire for liberation into your effulgence. O Lord, the entire universe was created by Lord Brahma, who was born from your abdomen, which was bound with a rope by Mother Yashoda. To this rope I offer my humble obeisances. I offer my obeisances to your most beloved Srimati Radharani and to your unlimited pastimes. Lord Damodar ki jai.
Chaito Darpanam Marjanam Bhavamahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vijayavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipadam Pranamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapitani Amitasmarane Nakala